The video for July 11th, 2017 is entitled Black Patriots in American Revolution. We have been lied to repeatedly by the criminals that took control of the American dream of freedom for all by incorporating apparent institutions of government and the people ourselves. One of the things that has been kept from us is the fact that Black Americans played an important role in the Revolutionary War for independence from European monarchy. I will provide the link with more details as this video is posted on YouTube and Facebook. Of course, this is hidden. After all, these charlatans depend not only on our ignorance, but our programmed inability to think outside the boxes they carefully constructed over preceding generations. What will happen when we finally get to see behind the curtain of secrecy? Will that even take place in our lifetime? Perhaps we are living in an era when darkness becomes illuminated. I hope so. Yeah, I find it interesting that I had forgotten that this was on the list of videos to make. I wrote the blurb and everything, 4 or 5 days ago now, and I kept putting it off for one reason or another. I had to record with Aristo and other things. Anyway, when I finally came to the computer and saw that this was a waiting topic that had already been written and prepared with the blurb and everything, I sat here for a while before turning the recorder on and thought back over my lifetime of my involvement with Blacks, Negroes in the course of my life. I remember when I was still a teenager. And of course, I've already told you that Bethany Church, Assembly of God Church, was at that time right in the middle of a Black neighborhood in Paterson, New Jersey, on the corner of Broadway and Summer Street. I think, was there a library across the street? Or there was some public building across the street, because I remember we used to use that as an extra parking space. But in any case, I decided one summer as a teenager to go around the neighborhood and find children that wanted to attend a summer Bible school. And they didn't want me to hold it in the church, so I held it actually on like a little patio or porch area on the back side of the building. And I would go and round up little Black children in the neighborhood and bring them to a little Sunday school. I don't remember how many there were at this point. It's a long time ago. As I said, I was probably 14 or 15 years old, possibly even 13. I don't know how old I was. I know I was a teenager. I was still in school at the time. And that was a way to do something over the summer. And I did not get a whole lot of support from people inside the church because they didn't want a whole lot of Black people coming to the church. There were some Black people that came, but it was a relatively small percentage, considering the fact that that the church itself, the building itself, was in as I said, a Black neighborhood. So that was some of my early dealings with Black people. I didn't have the prejudice that some people around me, a lot of my friends, seemed to have. And I remember when a black child came to the high school, and they were the first Black family to move into Midland Park, New Jersey, where I basically grew up. And they only lasted 1 year, and I don't remember the fellow's name, but there was a Black fellow in my class, and they only lived there for 1 year, and then they moved out. I mean, it just was not I guess for them, a tolerable situation where they were the only Black family in the whole town of about 7,000 to 8,000 people. Which, by the way, I checked recently, and the population hasn't changed much over the years. It fluctuates a little bit up and down, but not by any huge amount. In any case, then as I became an adult and I moved to Utah, one of my best friends ended up being Yuko Udofia, who was from Nigeria. And he was part of our spiritual group, and just a really, really nice man. And I remember when I finally was leaving there, I took him to visit relatives of his that were in St. Louis, dropping him off in St. Louis, if I remember right, and then proceeding on to New Jersey. That's when I was getting out of Utah, and I rented a truck to Cedar City because that's all I had the money for. And he provided gas money, and I ran out of money, by the way, when I got to eastern Ohio, and had to finagle how to get to get the rest of the way home to New Jersey because I didn't have any funds. That's another whole story. But in any case, I have had some black friends over the course of my life, and of course, some of the people that were involved in the Patriot movement that I was involved in were also Negroes or blacks. So, I mean, I have had involvement with black people over the course of my life, and I don't have the prejudice that so many people seem to have. But what I didn't realize is that the American Revolution, there were some actual groups of people that were, it was a black regiment of some sort. It's been a while now since I watched or read whatever that link is, which I expect to provide here so that people can check it for themselves. But there were black patriots that played a crucial role in the American Revolution. And a lot of people played a role in that you wouldn't think would be involved, but they were involved, including some lawyers. And again, lawyers and attorneys are two different things. An attorney is someone who gets an accreditation called a bar accreditation, or approved by the British Accredited Registry. And a lawyer doesn't need bar certification. Of course, as it exists in the present day and age, you can't much succeed as a lawyer unless you're a bar attorney. I mean, they have tightened the grips on that, but in the early history of America, that was not the case. There were, as I said before, Abraham Lincoln was the first bar attorney to hold the office of president. There were lawyers that had been involved in politics and stuff like that prior to that, but they weren't connected to the British bar, as it were. But folks, we have been brainwashed with all sorts of prejudices and disinformation, and we've been lied to all of our lives. So determining the truth is certainly a challenge for me and for anyone else that really wants to know what happened, because of, as I've said in other videos, it's the ones who win, supposedly, that write the history, and they doctor it to favor their point of view. They do not necessarily tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help them God. And they don't even see God as being a positive force, although there's, of course, exceptions, always exceptions. There are people that really love God, and even people that are entrapped in religious idolatry, I call it, because they've made their religion an idol, and they don't know how to love outside their own group. And that's a sad state of affairs as I see it. But I'm hoping and still wishing for there to be a real awakening where we can love one another and take down these artificial walls of prejudice and just love people for being people, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their religion, regardless of their nationality. I wish we could make a whole new world, and that's my dream and that's my vision, and I hope we accomplish it in some way. Anyway, thank you for listening, and namaste.